Welcome back to the program. Wow, what a time to be alive. That's all I can say, first and foremost. I had a chance to watch the entire 2 hour interview with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. And I got to tell you, it was the most passive aggressive interview and weirdest interview I think I've ever seen. Now, I'm not passing judgment on either one or anything like that. But if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. You need to take the time to see it. I will put the link in this description. But I mean, it was just Tucker has this way of being cheeky and kind of snarky, and he does that silly laugh. And at one point, you want to pop him in the face, and then he says something self-deprecating a few minutes later, and you're like, you want to go out and have a beer with the guy. So it was really frustrating to watch. Ted Cruz, what a saint, honestly, to be able to put up with what he had to put up with. I don't know if I could have done that for 2 hours because it was very back and forth. It was very confrontational. And quite frankly, I think Ted Cruz held his own, and I think Ted Cruz won, if you want to call it a debate, handedly over Tucker Carlson. But it was a weird kind of passive aggressive, best way I can describe it. So I would highly suggest you watch the whole thing because it was pretty interesting. Now let's get on to brass tacks here. There are reports right now that President Trump is planning on striking Iran by the end of this weekend, possibly first of next week, but more than likely probably over the weekend, okay? And part of the reason is because they have made this decision, and President Trump then put it on hold and tried to reach out to the Iranian leaders and let them know that if you dismantle the rest of your program on your own, then that's it. We'll leave you alone, and it's over. And apparently, this is exactly what this psychotic Ayatollah said. Iran will not negotiate with has-been warmonger Trump. Probably not a good thing to say when all of your military, all of your leaders, everybody around you has been decimated and killed, and you're sitting there in your bunker and you're saying that when he's giving you an opportunity to end your program peacefully. Not a good thing to do. So I can assure you, President Trump is going to do what he needs to do. So here's my thought on this, okay? It is what it is. We've got to stop this regime. Now, before I get into everything else, I sat down with Mike Ryan again in Australia today, and every interview we've ever done has never been contentious. Never. We've gotten along great. We've agreed on just about everything that we talked about. I'm hoping I'll be invited back, okay, after this interview. And hopefully he airs it. I'll know in a day or two because I'll be looking for the file and I'll put it up as a show. But I got to tell you, it was like as soon as the interview started, he was on the attack mode right away. And we were discussing Tulsi Gabbard, and we were talking about Tulsi Gabbard and the fact that she said in her testimony that there was no uranium enrichment. But remember, that was not the full story. That was only partial part of the story. I didn't even get a chance to even explain that. And so we're going back and forth. I explained to him what I've explained to all of you, that when Trump was putting together his cabinet, I said 3 Democrats in your cabinet is probably not a good thing. At least one of them is probably going to turn on you. And we saw which one it was, right? They had the tiff together with Elon Musk. But I also said, look, maybe he has different intelligence information. Perhaps, maybe she could be a plant. I suggested it. And he was like, are you telling me that the Director of National Intelligence for the United States of America could possibly be a plant? And I said, well, I mean, look, hey, anything can happen. And then he kept going and going. So finally I said, look, these are great questions. But you know what? I'm just a surrogate. Why don't you reach out to her, try to get her on your show, and ask her directly? And so we just had a very friendly but contentious back and forth. I still love the guy. I think he's great. We hopefully I'll go back on his show because he's always a lot of fun. And like I said, we always agree. But you know what? Sometimes it's good not to agree. And at the end, I said, we'll have to agree to disagree. But it was a good 20 minutes of pretty contentious back and forth. So I enjoyed it because, again, me, right? I'm always going to enjoy something like that. So anyway, no hard feelings on that with Mike. I still like the guy a lot. But anyway, so let's get on to business here. So some of my sources, which you guaranteed have never heard before, will tell you that Iran, well, the sources that you will hear from the prostitutes in the news will say that Iran is working on a counterattack and they're going to go after our bases and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, they've shot off 400 rockets. Only 5 have hit a target. Okay? Not very good. And by the way, they have lost over 60% of all their missile launching capabilities. Okay? So Natanz is destroyed. Parchin, I believe, is destroyed. The other ones are destroyed. The only thing left is Fordow. And Fordow is the Alamo. Fordow is the most important spot. Why? Because of how far down it is buried. They did this on purpose. Okay? This is an evil regime that is enriching uranium, regardless of what Tulsi Gabbard says or anyone else says. That's what they're doing at 90%. Trump just came out an hour ago and said they were within weeks of a nuclear weapon. Now, some might say, well, Josh, how do you know that? Maybe they were just using that as an excuse, and Netanyahu was using an excuse to take out Iran. Okay, maybe that could be the case. But why would they create a underground facility 300 feet down or whatever it is, I'll get to that in a second, and then say that they're negotiating with us, they're not enriching uranium, but yet clearly they have an entire facility built underneath the ground. It's called Fordow, and that is the last piece. We could stop right now. We could take out Natanz. We could take out, Parsons. We could take out all the other ones around Isfahan, all the rest of these nuclear facilities, all of them, and then stop and leave him in place. And if we leave Fordow, they're going to have a nuclear weapon, okay, in short order. So Fordow is next. That is the final piece, and it has to be destroyed. So President Trump is planning on doing just that. But before I get into that, I want to give you some intelligence that you will not hear anywhere else, okay? Senior Iranian officials, these are people that were close to the Ayatollah, literally right underneath him. They know what's happening. They know that they can't be protected anymore. So what are they doing? They're actually reaching out to the IDF, and the IDF is telling them, don't talk to us, talk directly to the Mossad. Listen to this, and no, I can't tell you where this source comes from. The Israeli Defense Forces Persian language on X, their account, has issued a message for the Iranian public, calling on all citizens to collaborate with the Mossad, while claiming that even members of Iran's own security apparatus are secretly pleading with the IDF. We understand, this was the message they put on X, we understand you're in a difficult situation. We understand that you are under pressure from your own regime, the message read. However, in recent days, we have received messages from those close to us who fear an uncertain future. The statement alleged that Iranian security officials have reached out to Israel to avoid becoming the next, quote, Gaza or Lebanon, the IDF declared. Then they redirected to Mossad. We are not the ones that you should be addressing these requests at. Contact Mossad directly. A secured link to Mossad was attached to the X post, along with a warning to anyone contacting them to use a VPN. This comes as paranoia within Iran reaches new levels. Iranian authorities have arrested dozens of citizens on suspicion of espionage or, quote, psychological sabotage, accusing them of supporting Israel online or spreading dissent. Tehran has arrested 28 people for, quote, alleged cooperation with Israeli intelligence in Esfahan, where a nuclear facility was reportedly being targeted. 60 individuals were detained. So what is happening here? The military apparatus around the Ayatollah, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the Al-Quds force, the supreme elite leaders, military leaders, they are all scattered. Some of them are already dead. A lot of them are already dead. And they know what's happening. Some of them are contacting, by the way, Vladimir Putin and Russia and trying to get exit plans in case what is probably going to happen is going to happen. Because they want to get out of the country with their families. And yes, Russia has said that they will give them safe haven. Okay? So that's some of the intelligence you're not going to hear anywhere else. Now, let's get back to the bunker busters. Okay? So in April of 2025, so about 2 months ago, we gave 1,000, quote, bunker buster bombs to Israel. But there's a caveat. We didn't give them the ones that we have. We gave them other ones that we have that are not as powerful, nor do they strike as deep. Okay? So let me explain. So the reality is, let me grab the link here. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So we gave Israel what are known as GBU 39s, BLU 109s, and we may have given them either very few or none at all. I don't know, and I haven't been able to figure this out yet. What are known as GBU 28s. Now, a GBU 39, if you drop it on a target, it can go 3 feet down. Not much, okay? Not much at all. The BLU 109 can go double that. It can go to about 6 feet down if you drop that bomb on the target. The GBU 28 can go 20 feet down. Now, those are the ones that Israel has. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if they decided to use their own bunker busters, the lower grade bunker busters, they would never, ever in a million years get to the nuclear program at Fordow. Why? Very simple. Because the Fordow enrichment nuclear facility is between 260 feet to as much as 330 feet underground in a mountain. Do you get that? Okay. So, the best that we have, our best MOPS, okay, which are what these bunker busters are called, the GBU 57, this has been the back and forth between Netanyahu and President Trump as to whether or not we're going to supply the GBU 57s. Now, how deep do the GBU 57s go? Not far enough. 197 feet. Remember, Fordow has been built 260 to 330 feet down. So, even if we do decide to give these GBU 57 bunker buster bombs to Israel, they've never been used, number one, in war. Number two, Israel, as far as we know, does not have the load capacity in aircraft to drop this, meaning we're going to need to be part of that. That automatically puts us in the offensive into this war. And number two, or number three here, even if we drop them, and we drop it perfectly right on Fordow, there's a possibility that it won't even go far enough down. Okay? So this has been the dilemma with President Trump. Now, I cannot tell you and divulge this information in case somehow this broadcast gets over to someone in Iran. So I'm not going to tell you. But what I will tell you is that if America, whether we go in offensively or not, and stay in the defensive way that we are doing things to help them shoot down missiles and be in a defensive role, if we go or we don't go, either one, it doesn't matter, Israel has a contingency plan to eliminate Fordow and the entire facility. I cannot and will not divulge what that is because I would never want to tip off the Iranians as to what Israel may be doing next. Okay? So I'm not going to get into it. I may tell a few of you personally, quietly, on the down low. That's fine. But I'm not going to broadcast that publicly. So we'll leave it at that. Now, the other thing, and I want to switch topics before we wrap up because this is really important. I've been talking about this Neville Singham, right? This is the Sri Lankan billionaire. He's basically the Sri Lankan George Soros for all intents and purposes, okay? He has close ties with the CCP. He has a home and a residence in China, in Beijing. And he is also a major funder of a lot of these organizations that have set up and have done what they have done in Los Angeles and the No Kings and the rest of the garbage that we have seen and witnessed, okay? It gets worse. There's now a full report that says that you, that's right, you California taxpayers have been secretly paying to have your own state destroyed. That's right. You in California have been secretly paying for your own destruction. Is that insane? Unreal. $73.6 million in state money has flowed into these groups behind the LA violence. As Mayor Karen Bass lifts the curfew in Los Angeles after days of violent riots, a key question remains: who has been funding the unrest? While Chinese Communist Party-linked money flows through hidden networks, California taxpayers have also unknowingly financed the very groups that blocked federal agents and fueled the damage, destruction, violence, and chaos. The numbers are staggering, and the betrayal is undeniable. Government watchdog Open the Books revealed that California handed out $73.6 million to anti-deportation groups in 2023 and 2024. The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, CHIRLA, as I told everybody about 2 weeks ago who was behind this, you may remember, a lead organizer behind the riots, received nearly half of that money, $35 million. In effect, residents were paying to destroy their own communities. Now, let me stop there. These left-leaning organizations, CHIRLA, right? What it stands for? The Coalition for Humane. Okay? What's another group that's also funding this? The HRC. And no, I don't mean Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's the Human Rights Commission. See, this is what the far left does. They give it a title or a name that sounds like they're trying to help humanity when in fact they're destroying humanity, right? CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, or the, Humane, whatever society, all these different stupid names. Now, This is interesting because it says here that there's an assemblywoman by the name of Katie Sanchez. I haven't checked if she's a Republican or a Democrat. I would assume probably a Republican because of what she's doing. But she has said, quote, "I'm formally requesting that the legislature audit the extent to which LA riots are being bankrolled by taxpayer subsidized nonprofit organizations." Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez says, quote, "There is zero excuse for our tax dollars to go towards these riots." Cheerless public funding soared from $12.4 million in 2022 to $34 million in 2023, a 17.4% increase that coincided with a rising anti-American activism. According to Cheerless tax filings, 96% of all of its revenue comes from California taxpayers through state contracts for immigration-related services. So what are taxpayers actually funding? They're paying for Cheerless Warriors for Justice, deportation defense squads, the Wise Up program that teaches high schoolers to become activists, and the removal defense team that literally blocks immigration enforcement. Tax dollars are supporting a network designed to undermine U.S. sovereignty. And all of this is also being funded by this billionaire, Neville Singham, and these groups. Now, why do I say that? Because he's the one that's funding Cheerla, along with the California taxpayers, and he's funding PSL, and he's funding the Human Rights Campaign, and he's funding Act Blue. This guy is the new Soros. He is dangerous. People need to know his name. Neville Singham. Neville Singham. Neville Singham. And yes, the Department of Justice has now opened up an investigation into him about a week ago. So that is really good. I don't know if it was directly from my reports, probably not. I was part of it, but not solely taking credit here at all. There's another wonderful, amazing person named Data Republican who's done phenomenal work, is a great activist as well. She's also been talking about this a lot, and obviously others as well. So the federal government has been behind this and being funded through these NGOs, through these anti-immigration groups, by this billionaire with ties to the CCP. This guy is dangerous. He needs to go down. And I'm glad that at least a California politician is demanding answers and is doing an audit into this. So now you'll have the Department of Justice looking into it. You're also going to have Senator Josh Hawley looking into it because he's already said that he's subpoenaing the people involved as well. And you now have someone in California, this Assemblywoman Sanchez, also doing it as well. We have got to stop taxpayer funding of money that is destroying our country. Hello? How insane is that? It's very insane. And that's why the left can never, ever be back in control. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.